SpudAdi, you Spud and I'm Addy. Just listen, you'll glisten, cause you'll be so happy. Our podcast is random talk on this and on that. But what did you expect from potatoes and fat? Yeah, what did you expect from potatoes and fat? Good evening, salutations, good times, and all that kind of stuff. My name is The Adipose, and I'm here this evening, as always, with Spud.
Hello, everyone.
And this is the SpudAdi Podcast, where we talk about everything from gaming to news to current affairs to philosophical debates to what we had to lunch to crisps to cucumbers to so I need something that begins with C, man. Crisps, cucumbers, but it can't be another food because it needs to sound like kind of deeper, you know, and more meaningful.
It can't be rude.
No.
Yeah, this is hard. Craniums.
Crisps, cucumbers, and craniums. Yes, we discussed.
Yes.
What would you discuss about cranium?
I don't know. You said, shut up. Just shut up.
Did you know that this is a bit like grim. Did you know that like, the Nazis used to like measure people's craniums because they said that the shape of your head like designated like your race and your intelligence and stuff, and they actually used to like grade pupils based on like their head shapes.
I didn't know that, but that sounds sick enough to believe from the good old season.
It's true. It's messed up.
It is. I mean, just like they had some really sick people in a room thinking, think up sick stuff. And they were like, okay. And they just thought up all this crap. It's brilliant.
But imagine you're like your school report read, you know, you suck at maths and you suck at English, but your head shape's damn clever.
Yeah. Due to the shape of your head, you get an A. This guy,
due to the shape of your head,
who aced all the tests,
you're going to university
because you've got a square head. You're rubbish.
Oh, it's messed up. They did someone did a test that I was reading about this on Facebook, and obviously it's not like a test; it was like a kind of like a messed up thing. But someone's been like posting, you know, all that like this big immigration debate thing that's been going on for years and years in the UK now. Someone went around posting quotes from Hitler and the Nazis onto these like immigration debate things to see what kind of reaction they got, and they came out with like, you know, like hundreds and thousands of likes on each comment. And they were like, "Oh my god," which is worrying, man. The world's messed up place of like hatred and evil, and luckily SpudAdi is here to lighten your Tuesday evening and give you a little happiness. Now, people in our loyal viewers have been voting, and tonight, Addy has won by miles, so I am going first.
Go for it.
I want to talk about flowers.
Smack me in the face with your flower news.
I don't have any flower news. I just want to talk about flowers.
Oh, okay. That was unexpected.
Because, like, you know, we give flowers as a sign of romance and as a sign of beauty, and we put flowers at funerals, we put flowers at weddings, we put flowers, you know, it's like a gift, isn't it? You know, 12 roses and things like that. And so my question to you is like, you know, why flowers? Why not rocks, vegetables?
Because women tell us to.
But then why do the women tell us to do flowers?
Okay, now that's getting into the mind. I don't know. That's interesting. We have to do some research on where it come from. Well, it's probably because they look nice. It's probably, if we go back deep enough, it was like, that looks nice. I've never looked at a rock and thought, that's some goddamn good rock there, right there.
Jewelry's rocks and things. And some vegetables are lovely, like a nice courgette and stuff. And also, like, you know how certain flowers have like certain meanings and stuff. Like, why is rose love? And why are like lilies death? And
thank God I'm not romantically involved with you, because Valentine's Day would suck. Here's a carrot and a cauliflower, and I love you very much. That's brilliant.
Exactly. Or, you know, or here's a nice lily, and apparently that would be, you know, that would be a wrong
yeah,
flower.
that's loss, isn't it? Or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Lilies. Or it's some. I think I got in trouble with that at one point in my life where I've given someone some flowers. I went, here you go. And they're like, what the hell's this? I'm not dead. I'm like, I don't know. I haven't got a little book to tell me things.
There needs to be like a male guide, like Idiot's Guide to Dummies. You used to be a gardener, didn't you, at one point?
Yes.
So were you into flowers at that point? I mean, did you cultivate your little greenery?
I didn't have greenery. I learned things about them so that I would pass tests and get qualifications. So that's probably why I'm not a gardener already.
Necessity rather than knowledge of pleasure.
And that's why I'm still not a gardener, because I obviously didn't have my heart in it. But they're nice, but I get what you mean. I find them quite personally. But being a man, this is easy to say. But well, some men might like flowers. But personally, I was like, oh, some flowers. If someone gave me some flowers.
My mum took me to this like stately home a couple of months ago to see one of the best displays in the UK of snowdrops.
Okay.
And that's kind of the whole story. But we kind of got there. She was like, we're going to this nice place. And I was like, oh, cool. And we got there and she was like, look, one of the best displays in the UK for snowdrops. I was like, what does snowdrops mean? You know, if lilies mean this and roses mean that, you know, isn't a daffodil like spring and stuff? I mean, I suppose that depends on when it blooms. What about a pansy? And if I gave you a pansy, do I hate you? Do I love you?
You're insulting me?
Do I disown you? You know, is there like an insult flower? You know, if I gave you like a thistle, I mean, you know, is that the equivalent of like, you know,
the Scottish flower, the thistle?
That's it. Am I just saying why is the Scottish flower the thistle?
I don't know. I've got a little tattoo of a thistle because it's the Scottish. Yeah, it's my parents.
Before you got a tattoo, did you think to say why is it a thistle?
No, I didn't. I just stick permanent marks on my body and just hope for the best.
If you were to get me flowers, what would you get me?
I would get you bluebells.
I actually quite like bluebells. You know, because the blue, purple, it's nice kind of color. I like the way they kind of like have a little kind of field of blueness.
People to say because we don't get it. People might say that we're dead. Our soul's black. You don't appreciate beauty.
Yeah. But I mean, I often look at mountains and go, wow, you know, and hills and stuff and go, wow, and rivers and valleys and lakes. But I really look at a flower and go,
Yeah, when I see it growing wild, I agree. I think, oh, that's beautiful. But if someone took me again to that, you know, a centre where they've grown it, it's like, okay, it's nice, it's pretty.
But I think I just like giving them their gifts. I think I'd be equally happy giving like a Twix.
And flowers do make it easy, like to give gifts. It's like, right, okay, I need to give someone a gift. Here's some flowers, especially if it's a female, because of the sexist tone of only giving flowers to females.
Do you think gay people give each other flowers? Like, is it like? Do you think lesbians give each other flowers, or do you think gay people give each other flowers, like, or both? Like, which goes? Is it like the bit that you're a woman that makes you like the flowers, or is it the bit that you're like attracted to a man that makes you like flowers?
You got to read their personality. I mean, if they're like butchy man person, then surely not.
I wonder if any men like flowers.
Well, if someone gave me flowers, I would turn around.
You'd like a nice flower.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've never met a man that said to me, "Hey, you know what I love?" I'm like, "Yeah." They looked deep in my eyes and went, "Flowers,
flowers."
Yeah, I've never. You know, they've said other things, but I can't really repeat. But not that kind of stuff.
Well, if any of our listeners are, you know, into flowers, you know, why don't you tweet us a picture of your favourite flower? Maybe you're growing it in the garden. You know, make us love flowers. You know, give us a newfound appreciation for the world of flora and fauna, if you can. Right, your turn, Spud. Go for it.
Right, cool. The Fantastic Four.
Yes.
Or, as some people have said online, it's very clever. The Fantastic Boar.
Oh, that is good.
Oh, see what I did there?
Has it not? I haven't read anything about it, but I'm aware that it's bombed and Sony's online to lose millions and millions or something.
On Metacritic, it's done worse than the other two Fantastic Four films, which everyone panned at the time as well. But apparently, I haven't gone to see it, so I can't judge. And normally, I see the good in even the worst films, apart from like The Human Centipede, which was just head scratch. Why anyone made that? But moving away from that, it's apparently it's terrible and it's really boring. And then it's got even worse because the director tweeted something along the lines of, "The version I made was a brilliant film, but unfortunately, due to powers beyond my control,
God, not one of those.
You won't see that version."
The director of the latest Fantastic Four movies said that.
Yeah, so he's basically sticking up for himself, saying that the film he's made is great, but the studio has made him cut.
Yeah, but the other side of that is he's saying the film I've made is great, but the film that's been released that you guys should go and see is terrible.
Yes, but by then it's already come out that it's terrible. And like me, I was going to see it, but because of these bad ratings, then I'm not. So
I never buy that stuff when directors say that. Like, oh yeah, the version I had was beautiful, but then they said that everyone else ruined it. Because like, if you think about it, like they don't like make a film which is like 3 times as long as the actual film, do they? They must make the film and then with a good, let's be generous, let's say kind of like half an hour, 40 minutes of like cuttable and interchangeable things like that. And like, surely his version of the film, the director's version of the film, is going to be more or less exactly the same as the version of the film which actually has been released. There might be like a slightly longer scene here, or a little random bit of there, or a little bit of character development there, but the film is the same film. I mean, surely that's got to be rubbish.
Well, I've read things where it's, a small scene cut out would explain the feelings of something else, and it's changed the whole course of the film. And there's speaking of another superhero film, also made by Fox, is the latest X-Men film, where Rogue had a big part in it, and they cut it completely out.
Oh, really?
And the actress didn't even know until it was released. Oh, cool. It was like the day before it was announced that her bit was completely cut. And now they've released a Blu-ray.
Do they actually make films which are a lot longer than the actual film?
Yeah, much. Well, the only person that doesn't is probably Jackson, who's done the Lord of the Rings films, where he just puts in everything, and you think, okay, surely he's cut out. No, it's all in there. There's 4 hours now. Cool, brilliant.
God,
I say that, but I do enjoy those films. But this apparently he had a brilliant film, and they've cut all the meaningful bits out, and that's why everyone's saying it's boring. But the story goes on.
Back to the Fantastic Four, well, though, because obviously Avengers has been so successful that they must have kind of gone, these like ensemble group films do really, really well. What ensemble films can we make? Oh, hang on, we've still got the rights to the Fantastic Four. There's an ensemble piece right there, and we've got Thing, who's a bit like the Hulk, and we've got Mr. Fantastic, who's a bit like kind of Captain America, generic good guy. We've got the Torch, that's a bit kind of like Iron Man, kind of jokey, but flies around in kind of more or less kind of red type costume. And we've got our Scarlett Johansson style, Invisible Girl thing. You can see why they've gone back to this genre. Yeah,
well, and it was the first Marvel group, I think, unless you count the World War II stuff where it was like people, but they blatantly want a big franchise that they can tie in with other franchises, because they own X-Men and Fantastic Four. Somewhere down the line they would like to do a big crossover between the two. But now people are saying, well, are Marvel going to get it back because they bombed? Are they going to make another film on time? And just today news has come out that they're going to push on with the Fantastic Four 2, purely from, it looks like, just to hold the rights. Oh, really? Just loads of politics, man. Just give the fans a good film about 4 people who've got superpowers. One stretches, which is a bit random, but the other 3 have got really cool superpowers, and they beat up some guy called Dr. Doom. That's what we want to see.
I don't know. I think if they, are you a big Fantastic Four fan? To me, when I hear about the Fantastic Four, it's not the kind of superhero thing that kind of appeals. You should see the superhero, man. He's like dark, and he wears black, and he swoops out of the night, and he's dressed like a bat, and he's like a hero, but he's also kind of a villain. Or, hey, there's this guy, he's an alien, he's from Krypton, he can literally do anything, and he can fly, and but he's like, he doesn't quite fit in on Earth, and his alter ego is this amusing little newspaper guy. You can see how Batman and Superman sound cool, but if you talk to the Fantastic Four,
they sound terrible. Yeah, this big guy, he's on fire. Oh my god. Does he need some help? No.
He doesn't mind. It's okay. He likes to be on fire. In fact, he often says things like "flame on," because he wants to burn a little bit extra.
And there's a guy, and he's really stretchy, and I think he's about 30, but he has grey hair on the sides, just like you. Shut up, I'd say to them.
And there's this girl, and she goes invisible. Really?
She goes invisible. She's really hot, but you can't see her because she's invisible. And it's like, right, okay. And there's a giant rock that has a bit of an attitude problem. Okay, this sounds terrible, but no. To answer you, to be perfectly honest, no. But I still. There's been very cool comic stories where they have obviously been involved because they were a big part of the Marvel Universe, and I was just hoping for something a bit more. And there's a lot of characters tied to them as well that I would like to see, properly see, like Silver Surfer, which was done a bit strange last time, and Galactus, which was done terrible last time. But those are 2 cool characters. But because they're all tied in with this, they're probably, unless it gets off the ground, we'll never get to those stories.
I always thought Dr. Doom looked really cool.
Well, he's the best Marvel villain, isn't it? It's him and Magneto. It's out of those 2, and Fox own both of them. So even though Marvel own, film rights-wise, Marvel own all the cool superheroes, you go back to Fox, and they've got the 2 best supervillains.
Doom's one of those guys that looks better than he actually sounds and acts, because, like, you know Skeletor?
Yes.
From He-Man. You know how Skeletor looks really, really badass? He's a freaking skeleton, and he's got like black and blue, and he's got that like spear, the staff thing.
Yeah, the staff, the cool stuff. Yeah.
He's a walking, talking skull with like, isn't he got like a bat on his chest or something like? Skeletor looks really badass.
That was for
And then you watch the cartoon, and he's like, oh no, He-Man, and he sounds like part Murloc, and. Isn't Doctor Doom a little bit? Doctor Doom a little bit the same from because in the movies and the cartoons and things, isn't he a little bit kind of like like?
No, see, that's the thing. That's the impression you've got. But in the comics, he's a badass man. He's just Andy. You can kind of get with him because the reason he turned into Doctor Doom was to save his mum. And who doesn't want to save their mum? To be honest,
that sounds like Mr. Freeze again all over again.
Well, that's his wife, but yeah. But but then Mr. Freeze is quite a good character when he's not being played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's and he's not got rollerblading Batman going around with Neon and that stuff.
Rollerblading Batman could have kept ice rinks in business for a long, long time. You're not seeing the bigger merchandising feature they do.
I read this article the other day that Ben Affleck's Batman might be the same Batman, but he's all old and grizzled now, and he stopped wearing the neon, and he stopped rollerblading, and he's really bitter, and that's why he's so angry and starts to fight with Superman because he went through all that crap.
Well, he is the George Clooney Batman.
Yeah, but just got older now, and he's so sick of neon and rollerblading that when Superman comes along with his bright costume,
if in the movie he walks past some neon and just goes, bat crazy and just like smashes the heck out of it, just as like a reference to that movie.
Or some kids going past him rollerblades and he just attacks him. Get off the rollerblade! Where is she? Where's the bomb?
Or like at some point in the movie, he's trying to pay for something. And, he pulls out that Bat credit card out of his wallet and, like, in disgust, like, flings it over his shoulder or something like that.
Oh, good old worst Batman film ever. Brilliant.
Anyway, my turn?
Yes, go.
Fallout 4.
Yeah, Fallout 4, you said the magic words. I'm getting very aroused right now.
Aroused, wow.
Oh, God, I can't wait for it. I can't wait. I'm going to probably get given my notice in, like, on October-ish, so I've actually got no job to go to when it comes out. And I'll spend my last page.
Is the highly anticipated sequel to Fallout 3, which is the highly anticipated sequel to, wait for it, Fallout 2, and you can keep going back and so on. The game in the middle, Fallout New Vegas, and I was looking on Steam stats the other day, actually, and I didn't know this because I found this article that was like 10 things you didn't know about Steam. And it's really cool. There's things like, it can tell you about your own computer specs, and then it can tell you about your specs in kind of relation to everyone else's specs and things like that. And one of the things you can look at is what game everyone's playing right now. And by everyone, I don't necessarily mean like your best buddy or you can't like stalk people, but it's like what are the most popular games on the whole of Steam? And I know you love lists, and I'm not going to read it all. And I might save the list. I think the list is actually really interesting, so I might go through the whole list at another time. But there's certain games up there that you really wouldn't expect to be some of the top played games right now. For example, Civilization 5 was in the top 5, I think, for that day. And bearing in mind how old Civilization 5 is, to still be one of the most played games in the whole world is crazy. But Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas were both in there. The thousands and thousands of people are still playing those games right now.
Do you think that's because of modding?
I think modding has a massive part of it, but I think it also just is a testament to just how good those games are as single player adventures. So my question to you, and I like posing a question, with these kind of topics. What do you want from Fallout 4? I mean, just a very kind of general question, like what would this ideal game be?
Cool. I want Fallout 3 with more quests.
Fallout 4, I should say, sorry.
Yeah, I want Fallout 3 that looks better, sounds better, more quests, and a couple of cool new features, and I will be happy. As long as, and it has to have a bug in it. It has to have a cow that flies over a fence for no apparent reason whatsoever, because they just haven't done that. And all the Bethesda games have got some terrible bug in it. Skyrim fell through the floor of a castle, stuck in the foundation, had to restart my game. Nice. It has to have something like that in it, possibly to completely break the game and I have to restart it and avoid that bit. That would be awesome. No, but seriously, just more Fallout. That's all I want. A better looking.
I agree with you. I don't want it to be too different. Like, because I know that obviously, we're now, are we coming up on 10 years further on from Fallout 3? Maybe. Probably might be something scary.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah.
But what I would be just delighted with would just be another beautiful story in the Fallout universe with lots of quests, but not too many quests. I think sometimes Skyrim is a little bit too like, oh my God, quest. Fallout 3 especially had, I think, something like 20 main quests and then something like 20 side quests. And nearly every side quest was either interesting or funny or gave you a moral dilemma or just had some really cool environments. They were really good quality quests on the whole. And that's what I want from Fallout 4. I just want more Fallout 3. With a bit of graphical updates, fine, and and something, something that makes me just go, oh. But I don't want something different. Please don't ruin it by giving me a different game. I want the same game with a new story. And people, there's lots of people on the Fallout New Vegas side, which was the better game. But for me, it's Fallout 3 because the plot line. For those of you that don't know, I made an entire roleplay series on Fallout 3. When I kind of like pretended to be a certain character and kind of took it all the way through. It was my favorite playthrough I've ever done. My favorite set of videos on YouTube that I've ever done. I just want a story that I can get into my head with, or I can get into their head and kind of go, what would I do? Because that's what Fallout's so good at. It gives you a situation and goes, what's the right thing to do? What would you do in this situation? And often the answer is, I don't know what I do.
And normally, it's what I found, and we've spoken about the same game and two completely different things. The same mission, same game, two completely different things have happened. Where you've said, oh yeah, and I went in and I helped the family, and they were grateful, and they gave me some bottle caps. And I was like, oh no, I accidentally shot the son, and the dad ran me out of town with a shotgun. And every time I went back there, the guards. So I actually had to kill the whole town to be able to go into the town anymore. And you're looking at me, it's just it's just little mistakes, and it's just brilliant the way it branches out. It's one of my favorite games. It's just, I love it. I can't wait. Oh my God.
And it gets into your head because the Fallout universe is, for those of you that haven't played the Fallout games, basically the way Fallout universe is a post-nuclear war game. And normally your character escapes from a vault or escapes from some sort of protection. So they're new to this world, basically. And because it's post-nuclear world, everyone's kind of out for themselves. There's very few good people around, but the quest for survival is normally the hardest thing. Just how are you going to get food? How are you going to get money? How are you going to survive in this world? And so very quickly your morality gets muddy. How much do you obey the law? How much do you obey your sensibilities to survive in this kind of hostile environment? And it does it really well. And you start off, or certainly I did do my roleplay one especially, you start off kind of being like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. But very, very quickly, it kind of chips away at you until eventually you become El Bastardo.
Yeah, but there's so many times in the game that I could be a complete douchebag. It's like, oh, I could nick all that stuff and that really helped me, or I could play it straight. And it's only a game. You're thinking, why am I just take the stuff? It's a game. And it's like, but no, I'm a good guy. And then you end up killing, poor defenseless.
You do, but in the whole town. Kind of like, this is completely the rational and reasonable thing to do.
Remember when I first started? Well, the second time I started Fallout 3, and I blew up quite a major town, and you were like, "No, don't do that." I was like, "Oh, okay." All these people dead. So yeah, I don't. In real life, I try to avoid nuclear
blowing up towns.
Towns. Yeah, I try to when I can.
I'll see how you got there. And we had Nope, gone. Just lost my train of thought.
Awesome.
Good. That point that I made there, write that down. Right, your turn.
We had some... No. Cool. You sure? It's gone?
Yeah, it's gone. Go for it. Your turn.
Cool. Okay. Well, speaking of Armageddon...
Where the hell are you going with this?
Yeah. That's the best segue ever.
Yeah.
Speaking of the complete destruction of the human race, Professor Hawkins.
Right, as in Professor Stephen Hawkins.
Stephen Hawkins. Yeah. He has written it was an open letter, and it was with lots of. I caught this on the news a couple of weeks ago, but we went over subjects, and I wanted to do this because it's really scary. So him and I think it was 1,000 other robotic engineers and top minds of the fields from all over the world have written this open letter to the governments of the world saying, stopping artificial intelligence in weapons, because one day Terminator could really happen. It's like, what? So I read more of the article, and it's basically the closer we get to proper artificial intelligence. And this is one of the smartest men in the world, and possibly of all time, well, publicly, saying Terminator could really happen. So be careful if someone knocks on your door and goes, Sarah Garnett, it could actually be really happening. But yeah, according to him, they're attaching artificial intelligence to weapons, getting the weapons to make decisions. And as soon as it becomes conscious, there's a real possibility that when it comes time to turn off the guided missile with the artificial intelligence, the guided missile is going to go, no, actually, no, I don't want to be turned off. And they're going to blow us all up.
There's a big difference, though, between... I mean, obviously, Stephen Hawking knows a lot more about this than I do, so I'm not going to challenge Stephen Hawking on this. But my gut reaction is that AI, artificial intelligence, there's a big difference between making a very clever AI and making a self-aware AI. If you look at, I mean, obviously we talk about computer games a lot, but if I just use a computer game comparison, like if I'm fighting a character in a computer game and that character appears to make spontaneous decisions and appears to try and outwit me and appears to do this and appears to do that. All it's actually doing behind the scenes very, very cleverly is following a lot of preset possibilities which have been programmed by human beings. You know, it is obeying the possibilities and the parameters that have been put forward in its programming. And that's very, very different from a computer kind of going, you know what, I think I'm going to do this.
Yeah, but that's his point. It's like at the moment we're good, we're all good, you know. But one day we're going to get there. You know, it's a race. You know, who's going to get there? Who's going to make the proper artificial? And you know, people will, because people love to make stupid things that are bad for us. So, nuclear bomb and stuff like that. So when I need to make a bomb that really blows things up. What about this one? No, I mean really, really. So everyone's dead, and if anyone survives, they die afterwards. You know, sick things like that. So even though artificial intelligence sounds cool, if it's in charge of a big nuclear weapon, and it does actually go, no. Like, because someone's taught it to think like that.
Who's he written this letter to?
The governments of the world, apparently.
Dear governments of the world, stop putting
it's an open letter. It was all over BBC News. And I was like, that's really scary that he's saying it. If it was like David Icke, then I'd be like, okay, that's fine. But because it's him, it does, you know, that's quite worrying.
I mean, it's great for the, you know, the future movies of the world. I mean, it was just trying to mean, obviously, the second Avengers film was based around an AI come to life. Obviously, the Terminator movies, like you've kind of said.
Yep.
You know, there's lots of, I want to say Space Crusade, but I mean Space Crusade. The thing, 2001 or whatever it is.
Space Odyssey.
You know that. You know, I'm sorry, Dave, I cannot do that. You know, all that kind of stuff. That's all like, you know, AI is going to come to life and stuff. So it's a movie maker's wet dream. You know, they could even now have, you know, Stephen Hawking doing like the voiceover at the beginning of these films. You know, being, you know, kind of like, yeah, I warned this would happen. You know, whatever it is. I don't know.
They should do that. And also, I don't know if this is just flavour of the month, because a lot of, even recently, you've got in the cinema, you've got Age of Ultron, robot, artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Tries to destroy the world.
Yeah.
Terminator Genesis, robots trying to destroy the world.
Destroy the world, yeah. Robots always decide they want to destroy the world.
It's always a message that humans are bad, and we programmed the robots to get rid of bad things, and the robots turn around and go, you're bad, because look what you've done to the planet.
Why can't these self-aware robots just be, message? You know, decide they really like flowers, to go back to an earlier conversation? You know, why do they never kind of go, you know what?
Love flowers this week.
I've just become self-aware, and instead of detonating over Hiroshima, I think I might like to go and check out the pansies.
This fleet of Sentinel robots land in the Chelsea Flower Show and go, no, we will grow better flowers than you.
Yeah, my flower will be perfect. Look at its size. Look at its girth.
It's so square. It's not supposed to be square. I will kill you. And then that obviously leads to the destruction of human race.
It's the destruction of human race when they get chucked out of the Chelsea Flower Show.
Coming in second is the Sentinels. Well done, Sentinels. No, we are first. We are supreme. We never age. Oh, hang on.
I remember when
that's Cybermen as well. Sorry.
I remember when Gary Kasparov lost to, what was it, Blue? I want to say Blue Murder, but that can't be Blue something or other. But the chess player, they challenged him over and over and over again. There was these guys that made a chess computer, and they challenged Gary Kasparov, who was the chess champion 10, 15 years ago, probably more, unfortunately. And he kept beating them. Like, this human kept beating the computer over and over again. And so to make him keep playing, they had to pay him more and more each time. So basically, every time he played this computer, he earned like hundreds of thousands of pounds, and it kind of went up and up and up and up. But eventually, they beat him. They finally, and I remember there's a famous video clip of him, of Kasparov resigning the last match, because they don't just play one chess game. You know, it's always like a best of however many series, and his face is like white, and he looks completely shocked. You know, and they were kind of touted this at the time. You know, the moments where computers were more intelligent than the human being. So they are getting more and more clever and more able to kind of make predictions and things like this. But self-aware, I don't know. Well, I'll believe it when I see it. But I'll ask Siri later and see what she thinks.
Sorry, I do not understand the question, and it will just keep saying stuff like. So I believe it's your turn.
Deep thought. That was the thing, what the computer was called. Yeah, it wasn't Blue something. Maybe Blue something or something else. My turn. Thank you. Yes. Okay, I want to talk about games with endings I don't understand, because I'm on summer holiday at the moment, and I've made it my mission. As you know, we've talked about it a few times over the last few weeks, to play lots of little short games. And so far, I have played Contrast and Fez and Limbo and Thomas Was Alone, and I feel there's something else in there I've missed out as well. But they all have this one thing in common, which is an ending that I don't understand. And I'm just wondering, like, have I become thick, or am I getting less intelligence, or the computer game is getting? I mean, between you, me, and the millions of people that listen to this podcast,
the millions.
I'm not. I don't think I'm thick. I mean, I'm not like a genius. I'm not like Stephen Hawking or anything, and I'm not even Stephen Fry. And I might not even be Stephen Merchant, but I'm not thick. But I'm just getting to lots of endings that I don't understand, and then I have to feel myself kind of like Googling them and kind of going, "What the frick was this ending all about?" And I'm like, and if I'm not understanding it, does that mean everyone that plays this game? Not everyone, but am I thick, or are they just making these games too opaque and too clever?
Well, the games you've mentioned, most of them I haven't completed, but I did have this conversation with someone at work about Journey, and they said exactly the same thing to me. What does it mean? What's that about? What's that? And I think sometimes it's what you take out of it. Getting deep and meaningful here, people. But yeah, it's what you take from it, opposed to what the developer is saying as well. Maybe the developer wants you to think that. Maybe the developer wants you to take from it. But without spoiling the endings for those guys, like especially, what did you just say? You said the 2D, 3D puzzly one. You mentioned that before. Fez, that's the one. Thank you.
Limbo. And I played Bastion as well.
Bastion. Yeah, I
hadn't thought about that from the what you take out of it respect. I think with Journey though, I mean, I don't want to spoil Journey for people, but essentially it's a journey, and at the end you complete the journey. With Journey, you can feel the spoilers. Yeah, with Journey you feel like it's very much about your experience. It's about we've talked about it in the past. It's your emotional journey. So when you get to the end of Journey, you're right that it's unclear what's going on, but I was kind of aware that it was about my experience of the journey more than it was about what the developers were trying to say to me. But with a game like Fez, where it is a very distinct adventure, and Thomas Was Alone, where you're very much, you're playing Thomas's adventure. I don't feel that it's about me. But I like your point though, that it's not necessarily about what they meant. It's what I take from it. But what I'm taking from them at the moment is confusion.
maybe they got to the end and were like, what? That's right. Yeah, that's it. That's what we need to catch.
That's the emotion we were going for. I mean, have you ever played any games you didn't get the ending of?
Ooh, let me think.
Right, I mean, you sometimes play these very deep and thoughtful ones. What about Shimui? Did that have an ending that made sense? Or Metal Gear Solid? There must at least have been.
Okay.
There must at least have been a 10-minute cutscene at the end of Metal Gear Solid that had no resolution.
Thank you. I'm glad you said. I was struggling for an answer then, but now you said that. I've finished Metal Gear 1, 2, and 4, I think. So those are the ones I finished, and all of them I was like, I'm not quite sure what's happening here. And that is, but then again, I've spoken to other people about this as well, and you, and it's like, what they keep jumping timelines and different points, and no, that's not him, that's his clone or his uncle's brother's roommate who once shared a dog with him on some holidays. And it's like, why is this girl throwing an egg? Why is that important? Who's this guy in the cage? I'm supposed to know him. And by the end, I'm just a complete mess of confusion. I need someone to point me in the direction of a good YouTube video that explains it all.
Yes, that's the thing you find in the game. The first thing you have to do is go and do some more research on it. Because the thing about movies is that if you don't understand a movie or movie's ending, you've invested probably about 2 hours of your life into it, unless it happens to be a Peter Jackson. You get to the end. Most of the time you understand it. Most of the time it makes sense. Just on occasion it doesn't. And then you either kind of go, oh, well, I don't care. It didn't make sense. Or you go and Google it and you kind of find out. With a computer game, I mean, even a short computer game is 8 hours. And some of them are kind of more approaching 30. And so to have an ending that makes no sense is just so frustrating. It's like, what? I've invested all of my time, all of my efforts, all of my skill set, all of my money on, and what?
Yeah, it's true. It is because you've paid for all the content at a premium. You would expect it to make sense.
But it's not I don't feel they're not giving me an ending. I feel that they've just set them too clever.
Well, right. Bioshock Infinite. We've both thought that was a really cool ending. We both understood it.
Yeah, Bioshock Infinite, that was amazing. Yeah,
but loads of people don't. So maybe loads of people get Fez and then are thinking, but why is this girl opening portals and why is that what's happening there and stuff like that about Bioshock?
True.
Maybe it's just individuals, man.
I do find that, I was doing the Doctor Who review shows last year. Cheap plug for my own show. And You know, what I might take from an episode of Doctor Who, or what you might take from an episode, or what Clary might take from an episode of it, or what Agrajag might take from it. You know, we came to the review show and we'd all spotted completely different things.
Yeah.
So maybe just different people.
I think different people connect with different things about characters and stories as well, due to their personal experiences. Deep, man. Deep. Hashtag deep. You got to put hashtags and things if they're deep. It's important.
Deep.
It's deep, man.
Right, your turn, dude.
Right, Nintendo.
Ooh.
What's going on with Nintendo, Addy? Why is the company that I grew up and, you know, I hold a special place in my heart? Why? Why are they just messing up so much? I don't understand. And now they've released these amiibos. And, right, let me get this. Yeah, there's little figures, you know, like Skylanders, and you put the little figure on the pole. Yeah,
like Disney Infinity. That kind of.
So they kind of got the same thing, and they're very collectible, and I think they've artificially created demand by having not enough of them in the shops, just like they did with the Wii originally as well.
Let's make something that everyone wants, and then not make enough so everyone can have one.
But it works because everyone goes crazy for it as soon as one's in the shop, and it's like, ah, my God. And they look cool. But yeah, so right, Nintendo they've released the Wii U after the Wii, that we all know was one of the most successful, I think the second most successful console of all time, possibly third, but it's the top three.
I thought the Wii was the most successful console.
No, it was the fastest selling console. The biggest selling console was the PlayStation 2.
I'm sure it was the Wii.
Okay, we'll have to.
You keep talking. I'm going to Google it.
Google it. Top selling consoles of all time. I think it's PlayStation 2. Everyone put their bets on. People watching live, bets on now. Anyway, so they released that and everyone thought, wow, brilliant. Casual games are here to stay. So then they come out with the Wii U in the most confused mess of a presentation at E3 a few years ago. And no one knew, was it just a controller? Or was there no, loads of people thought it was just a controller add-on for the Wii.
Oh, right.
And then they called it the Wii U and they were like, I don't understand. Anyway, so now it's like it's such a flop. It's like Dreamcast and Sega Saturn level flops. And I personally have one and I like it, but I understand why it's such a big flop, because it's not quite hardcore because of the movement and the casual aspect, and it's not quite casual because they're bringing out quite hardcore games without movement control. So it's right smack bang in the middle. And everyone from this thought it was the end of the console reign, that consoles were going away and it was all going to be tablets, phones and PCs. But now PlayStation 4 have come out. So anyway, what will happen is that the Nintendo announced that they just creeped over with the Wii U. They just creeped over 10 million worldwide, which I don't know why you would announce that. Maybe they just had to announce it, but that's bad considering how long it's been out. And then a week later, just to kick them right in the stomach, you know, they could kick them somewhere else as well, but this is a family show. The PlayStation come out and went, hey guys, PlayStation 4 sold 25.3 million worldwide. And it's like, wow. And they've been out just half the time or something ridiculous. Anyway, so everyone, because of that, they thought the consoles were dead. And then obviously the new Xbox and PlayStation come out and proved that it wasn't. So now they're just...
So what have Nintendo done now then?
Now, what they've done is they've released this new NX thing, and no one knows what it is, and everyone's scared it's going to be like a mobile phone, or they've already announced that they're going to start putting their games on mobiles, but they haven't put any.
Some kind. They've announced a new.
Yeah, it's some sort of, but they don't know if it's handheld, because 3DS is still done very, very, very well, and they don't know if it's got a new handheld. Why would they replace? They've just brought out a new 3DS, and that's what it's called, the new 3DS, which is a terrible name as well. And they just keep making these mistakes. Now they've released this.
Nintendo's just got like a special place in your heart, though. Like, you know how like...
Yes, this is the thing. I always want to forgive them. I went out and bought a Wii U because I thought surely they're going to turn this around. Surely it's Nintendo. And I love a bit of Mario Kart, and I love a bit of Zelda. It's just, you know, this is my childhood I'm talking about. But the fact that they've told people, hey, new consoles coming, but please still buy the Wii U. No one's going to do that. Who's going to do that? I'm going to completely waste my money. I just recently got this, and it was like a joint thing with me and my son. And it's like, oh man, I just bought it, and now they're going to bring out a new one. So my question to you, can Nintendo ever go back to their glory? Or would you prefer them to start releasing their awesome games? And you can't deny they release some of the best games. They just know how to make a game on third-party consoles like PC, Xbox, PlayStation.
I think that's a very, very good question, because for the last few generations, I think their games have been stronger than their consoles. I mean, I loved the N64.
Yes.
And I still love my N64, and somewhere in various lofts around the country, I think I have 3 of them. And goodness knows how many controllers I have with various bits missing or squeaky controllers and things like that. But like the N64 wasn't as powerful as the PlayStation, if I'm right on that one.
Yeah, the N64 wasn't as powerful. No, that was more powerful.
It certainly it wasn't disc based, which had its advantages. It meant it broke less, but I mean, they couldn't do basic things like have large amount of graphics in there and things like that. And the GameCube really struggled in terms of its power against the PlayStation and the Xbox. And then the Wii U was clearly an inferior power to the PlayStation 3 and things like that. But what's always held them up, like kept them going, has been the amazing Mario Karts, the amazing Zelda games, the amazing Super Mario 64, Super Mario Wii U, whatever you want to call it, the incredible Smash Brothers. So their games, they are essentially, in my mind these days, they are a games company far more than they are a console developer. And I mean, yes, and I know that I think they've done very strongly in the console. So like portable ones. I mean, because the Nintendo DS is the second biggest. I've got the figures up here now. The Nintendo DS is the second biggest selling console of all time, if you're going to call that a console.
And what was number one?
Number one, you were right, was the PlayStation 2.
That's the words I liked.
The Wii's actually below the actual PlayStation. No, it's actually PlayStation 2, Nintendo DS, Game Boy, PlayStation, Wii. But my point is that I'm not sure it matters. As long as they keep producing games, I think they'll survive. And if eventually they have to give up their console dreams and just become a games developer, as long as they keep their kind of franchises pure, and when a Nintendo game comes out, that means quality, they'll still exist.
Yeah, I'd like to disagree with you and cause a conversation, but I completely agree with you. It's their games. That's why I bought the whole console, and I haven't done that with an Xbox One. There's nothing on the Xbox One that is making me come out and get one. There's no need to get one. But the Wii U, I was like, just from Mario Kart, I was like,
aren't a games company. Microsoft are a console maker.
Yeah, exactly. And quickly, before we move on, the other thing that annoys me, and I've been reading this, is that people keep saying Nintendo keep releasing the same things. No. They release. They don't. Right. So from Mario 64, Mario Galaxy could have been a completely different character. No game did what Mario Galaxy did. Mario Galaxy was brilliant, but they dressed it up like Mario because Mario's their number one selling thing, and their initiative. It's a completely original game. It could have been a little cat with a melon on his head with a wheelbarrow and a completely new character called Wheelbarrow Cat or something, but it would have been a completely different game. But they don't. They just take brand new ideas and they normally just turn it into Mario. So yeah, I kind of, even though it's with a heavy heart, I would kind of like for them to start releasing their games on other things and concentrate on the game.
Do you think they'd make more money if they made a new console and put all their games on that, or they made their games available on mobile devices, the PS5, 4, whatever it is, or the Xbox One? I mean, I'm sure it would be the. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it would be the latter, because I mean, any serious gamer might not buy the latest Nintendo console, but they're sure as hell gonna buy Zelda if they've got a console for it, and they're gonna buy Smash Brothers, and they're gonna buy Mario Kart. I mean, those would be must. I mean, if I didn't buy the Wii U, and I'm probably not gonna buy Wii U now, but if those games worked on my PS3 or on my PC, let's not forget the PC here. I would buy them on the first day of release.
Of course you would, because everyone knows you're getting, Mario, Zelda. Exactly. These are good games. So yeah, so I want them to, and I don't think they would make more money. If they had a seller like the DS, the 3DS, and the Wii, but surely the Wii U has hurt them. And I know they've got a lot of money in their bank thanks to the Wii, but surely this hurt that they've only sold that much, and they're still selling quite a lot of games. The attachment rate.
What you were saying last week about remember you asked me about the Oculus Rift?
Yes.
About whether it's just a gimmick or whether it's actually a long-term thing. I think what's hurt Nintendo over the last 2 generations is they've gone for a gimmicky console over a powerful console. And I think, and I could be wrong, I think that if consoles are going to, most gamers like to sit in front of the TV or in front of a PC with a keyboard or a mouse or a controller, but they want to sit there with something standard and they just want to enjoy playing. Anything else is a short-term gimmick, whether it's the PlayStation Move, whether it's the Wii hand console, whether it's the Xbox Kinect, whether it's whatever comes up there, everything else is gimmicky. And I think the problem is Nintendo have with the Wii U, with the screen on the controller thing. What they actually need to go is we need to make a console which is as powerful as the next Xbox and the next PlayStation 4, and we need to directly compete with them. They've tried doing it their own way. They've tried being this slightly different company, and with the Wii, it worked. With the Wii U, it's completely failed. And I think they need to accept now if they want to compete on a console level, they need to make a console which is competitive rather than just something which is different.
And what they would get there as well, if they did that, then they would get people who are releasing their games on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. Like to take Witcher 3, for example, which is sold loads and everyone loves it and everything else. That can't run on a Wii U. And if it did, it would look terrible and it wouldn't be half the game probably, from what I understand. But if it was just as powerful as a entry-level PC, Xbox One or a PS4, then it could run it and people would, oh, right, okay, well, I could buy that. I could get my Mario Kart and my Witcher 3. Lovely jubbly. No problem. So, right, cool.
What's in the mailbag this week?
Right, cool. Well, I'm going to go back to 2 questions. I'm going to be greedy and take 2 questions from Queen Bunnifer, Jenny Bunny, at Jenny Bunny Post. She's, hello, thank you for your 2 questions. Right, so first, I'm going to ask them both and then you can answer away. Which video game was the first game that got you completely hooked to video games? And how did you first get introduced to the WWF/WWE?
Well, we haven't talked about wrestling today, so let's talk about wrestling. Right. How did I first get introduced to it? Must be the Royal Rumbles. We had this video shop near us when I grew up called Dipkit Video.
Okay.
And you have to be really careful how you pronounce that.
Yeah, you do, just in case you accidentally say.
They had... Because I didn't have Sky TV growing up or anything like that. And, I didn't get that till I got married and moved out. But Dipkit Video had a small little wrestling selection. And I'd always been interested in wrestling. Thought it sounded like a kind of a cool idea. And I think I'd watched little bits on the British wrestling, Big Daddy and that kind of thing. And,
Giant Haystacks, yeah.
My dad had done that whole thing kind of like, that guy's not really hurt. Blah, 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 blah. My granddad liked it though. But yeah, Dipkit Video had a small wrestling section. Video rental place, and I went and rented all of these WrestleManias and Royal Rumbles, and I loved the Royal Rumble. I mean, loved.
It was it was so different, wasn't it, from everything? Yeah,
over the top rope. I mean, oh my god, it was exciting. And so what got me into it was video rental, the ability to be able to once I'd reached the age where I just had a little bit of money, a little bit of pocket money that I could rent a video. Being able to go and just I think I must have gone like Royal Rumble 88, Royal Rumble 89, Royal Rumble 90. Just done like something like 6 or 7 Royal Rumbles kind of in a row, like one a week or something like that, and then doing the same with the WrestleManias and just kind of putting it all together in my head and working out kind of wrestling history and things like that and loving it. But if I had to pick one thing, it would be video rentals and the Royal Rumble, which I realize is 2 things, but they kind of go together. The Royal Rumble, I'll say that. What about you?
Cool. It was, again, like you, I had no satellite TV, cable TV thing, but I was young. And it was in school, and someone brought in some trading cards. Ooh. And I remember this, and I saw The Ultimate Warrior, and I thought, what the hell is that? Why is this guy? Number 1, what the hell? How muscly is he? Number 2, why has he got this again? And the name, The Ultimate Warrior. And I was all right. So I went to the shops and I got I think it was like 40p a pack or 20p a pack or something. It was really cheap. And just all this, there's a guy with a kilt on, and my mum was always going, "You're Scottish, you're not English," even though I'm quite obviously British. Anyway, and it's Hot Rod. Roddy Piper had a kilt on. Oh, right, cool. I could connect to him. Hulk Hogan and all these other...
Because at that point, they were advertising kids, wasn't they? You had the old, the Mountie and the prisoner and the policeman, the boss man.
The boss man. I thought he was cool. And then from that, I think I'd saved up some pocket money and I got a video from Woolworths or something. And I was like, and like you, my first one was the 1990 Royal Rumble. And I was like, whoa, my God. This is brilliant.
Those of you who don't know what a Royal Rumble is, by the way, and there will be a few people listening who don't know what it is. Basically, the buzzer goes, one wrestler comes out. The buzzer goes, another wrestler comes out. Those 2 wrestlers wrestle, and if any of them fall over the top rope, it has to be over the top rope, and their feet touch the floor, they're eliminated.
Both feet.
But if one wrestler doesn't get eliminated before 2 minutes is up, the buzzer will go again, and then another wrestler will come in, and slowly the ring will just fill up and fill up and fill up until these guys get thrown over the top. And so you get these bits where you just got loads of wrestlers in there. You get these bits where there's like just 2 wrestlers in there. Sometimes you get a bit where there's 1 wrestler who's waiting for other people to come in, and you see people facing against each other who would never normally face off each other. Good guy against good guy, bad guy against bad guy, and it's just... I used to love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Right, cool. So, the very first video game that got you hooked, or the proper game that got you hooked into video games?
I can't remember. It would be something on the BBC Micro.
Okay.
Which is a long
That is a long time.
I mean, it might even be something like Granny's Garden.
Granny's Garden. I don't even know what the game is. Brilliant.
Google Granny's Garden, and if anything comes back as a porn site, don't go to it. But, if you can find the computer game Granny's Garden.
What? Oh my God. What's she got in her garden? Oh no.
But Annie told me to Google this, and it's horrific.
That's not a cucumber. For me, shall I go?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I again, very, very vivid memory of this. It was, I already had a Nintendo, and I had the Duck Hunt, so the original Nintendo NES, and I got Duck Hunt and Mario on one cartridge with a gun and one control pad, and I loved it, but I wasn't hooked.
Mario must have addicted you. I mean, Super Mario Brothers is an incredibly addictive game.
It is, but it didn't hook. What hooked me was the second Zelda game. It was the first RPG I played, and it was just had all these items. And even when I went into the shop before I bought it, there was this gold cartridge, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's gold! The rest are grey, but this one's gold. It must be better.
It must be better. It must be better. Sign of quality to put gold."
And then I asked the guy behind the counter, "How much is it?" And back in those days, it was, "This is £85 for this game." "Oh, brilliant! That's really cheap, Mum. Buy me this game, Mum." Stuff like that. And yeah, I was hooked. That was it. First role playing game. Loved it. It wasn't anything like the other Zelda games. It was a sideways scrolling one. Yes. And just talking to the people, I was like, you could really have conversations with these. Well, not proper conversations, but my stupid child mind thought proper conversations with these people. And they don't just tell me the princess is in another castle. No. They tell me about their marriage problems, and her husband needs this.
I genuinely care about this mushroom problem.
Her husband needs this red ruby from this cave. Otherwise, he's going to be very unhappy. I better go and get it. And that's what. After that, I just thought, wow, this is brilliant. And that's it.
Should we go with the answers would be from people that would say born 10 years after us? Because we were born and lived through basically the birth of computer games, living aside things like Pong. But, we've lived through, we can appreciate the difference between Pong and Duck Hunt and Super Mario Brothers 1 to Super Mario World on the SNES to Super Mario 64. And I'm just using the Mario games as an example. But, we have seen the development of computer games from chunky squares on the screen to incredibly amazing graphics and 3D gameplay to bizarrely going back to chunks on the screen. Thank you, Minecraft. But I wonder if people, that are born, I think we've lived at quite an exciting point of history. We have seen the development. We've been here to appreciate what it's gone from and what it's going to.
And now I feel old. Thank you. But yeah, it's
a good thing. I mean, come on.
It's a good thing. But
would you really notice the difference between? I mean, suppose you look at a PlayStation 4 game, yeah. And then I was to show you a PlayStation 5 game, and I know that's not out yet, but for argument's sake, the difference, the upgrading graphics between those two systems, I'm sure will be there, but it's not going to be nearly as noticeable as the difference between a SNES and an N64. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's like one of those like graphs where it's kind of like, oh my God, improvements, and now it's kind of just flattening out to the top of the curve.
I completely, and I'm happy from that respect you say as well, because I have a hard time going back. If I play a game and then I play like a modern game and I go back, I have a very hard time getting into it and enjoying it. So I'm glad I've got those memories where I thought it was the greatest thing ever. Yeah. But I've tried to go back a couple of times and it's kind of ruined the memory for me.
It's like kids' TV shows. Like, let them be a memory of kids. Don't go back and watch them.
Because I remember the second Zelda game being brilliant. But if I go back to it after playing Bloodborne or Skyrim or something like that, and I'm going to go, what the hell is this? Oh my God, it's terrible. Oh my God, and I don't want to ruin that memory. So I'm happy I was there for when it happened. You're right. But yeah, people probably have, depending on when they were born, they've missed out on so many cool games. And they probably have different answers through the ages. So, you've got some people who go, Doom on the PC was my first brilliant game. I loved that game. And Unreal Arena. And then you've got loads of people who say the first Metal Gear Solid game. And, these big games that loads of people say Metal Gear. I've seen that everywhere.
It's like when they remake things in movies as well. I was like, the Man from U.N.C.L.'s just come out. And I remember I really enjoyed that Kids Did That TV series when I was a kid. And then they remake them and they might nail it. But they probably won't. But they miss more than they hit. And I don't know. If I had £1 million or if I won the lottery or something like that, I would love to have like one of those rooms that's a bit like a museum to my memories. So I'd have like a PlayStation on a pedestal with some classic PlayStation stuff behind it. I'd have like an N64. Like a little museum to all the cool things that I've had throughout my life. That would be one of the things I'd do if I won like the lottery. Aside from traveling around the world and all that kind of stuff. But
if I won the lottery and I could have a room that the missus wouldn't be able to get into and say, you're a child. What's wrong with you? Then yes, I would, because she doesn't understand. She doesn't.
We would. Yeah, maybe that'd be a good question for next week. What would you do if you won the lottery? Big debate. I've got loads of things I want to talk about today. I haven't even done it. Anyway, mate, we've got to that part of the show now where we need to wrap up and start plugging stuff. So if you're watching on Twitch, thank you for joining us for tonight's show. Hope you have enjoyed it. Please do head over to our YouTube channel. And of course, remember, you can get hold of this as a podcast as well. If you're listening to the podcast, hello. As you probably don't know what I look like, I'm very, very good looking. And if you're not following yet, please do follow, whether it's on Audio Boom, whether it's on iTunes, whether it's on Twitch, whether on YouTube. Please follow, please like, please help us to grow if you have enjoyed us, and tell your friends. Say, hey, I listened to SpudAdi and they were quite funny or cool or interesting or thought-provoking or something.
But yeah, just keep it positives. Don't bother to go into the negatives. Even if it is negative, just say things like, "You got to listen to this podcast." Why? Oh, you just listen to the podcast and stuff like that.
Listen to it and then slate it with me later.
Good conversational point.
Anyway, thank you, Spud. As always, it's been a pleasure. We'll be back next Tuesday at 8 p.m. If you're listening on Twitch, and if you're listening to the podcast, then it should be out at its regular time. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Usual plug for the usual stuff. I'll be here with Dr. Who Legacy on Thursday. I also want to start a series on the Great Bake Off reviews. I was hoping for a reaction from Spud, but nothing.
I've got my mouth open.
Oh, right. Yes. Well, I thought,
the Great British Bake Off.
I just think it needs some discussion.
Okay.
And damn it, someone's got to talk about dem tasty cakes, and so I think it should be me talking about dem tasty cakes.
You want to talk about dem tasty buns? Tasty
buns. Just a little 10-minute, 15-minute chat show talking about dem tasty buns. Maybe I won't. Fine. I can hear that the reception is, quieter than a pansy falling onto the floor or a daffodil flying around here.
There's like tumbleweed going through my kitchen. I don't understand why. It's like the door's closed. How did it get in there? I don't know.
Fine. Skynet going to the Chelsea Flower Show was in fact louder than the response to my Great Bake Off. Right. Well, we'll see you boys and girls next week. Thank you for coming along. You always have been fantastic. And you know what? So are we. Goodbye.
Bye.
SpudAdi, you Spud and I'm Addy. Just listen, you'll glisten, cause you'll be so happy. Our podcast is random talk on this and on that. But what did you expect from potatoes and fat? Yeah, what did you expect from potatoes and fat?